I recently picked up this POC Otocon Race Mips full face helmet here, and well, after a few weeks of riding with it, in this video, I'm gonna tell you what I think about it. Let's jump into it. But first, if you find this video helpful or insightful, you know the drill. Smash that like button because it helps me out in the YouTube algorithms. And if you go ahead and buy the Otocon Race Mips helmet or any of the competing helmets that I talk about, look for a link somewhere below this video to where you can buy it online at a great price, and in the process, hook me up with a small little commission to help me keep this channel growing. Now, first, let me just share a little bit with you about how I ride and what I was really looking for in a full face helmet. I think that's important to give a review some context because ultimately, two different reviewers that have different styles of riding or are looking for two different things out of the same product can come up with two totally different reviews on it. So for you out there, it's really important that you find a reviewer that kind of rides like you do. Now, if you watch my channel, you might know I'm a pretty aggressive rider, both uphill and downhill. No, I'm not like, a true top tier pro level, but I get around pretty quick on the bike, and I do a lot of cross-country riding and also bike park riding. And I needed a full-face helmet for racing an enduro event. So let's just kind of start off with the helmet that I wear most, or was wearing the most, and that is a POC half-shell helmet. And I really like wearing this helmet, and I generally wear this in places where I should really wear a more heavy-duty helmet, just because I like it. I like the kind of open feeling of it. It's not uncommon for me to wear this in a bike park, particularly if I start my ride out on a trail ride and then end up going to the bike park. I'll just keep that half-shell helmet on. On the flip side, if I just go right to the bike park, I would have been wearing a Fox Rampage comp right here, but this helmet is not light at all, and it's quite heavy. So when it was coming time to race an enduro event, I had to wear a full face helmet. Racing the half shell was not an option, and climbing with that heavy Fox Rampage comp was not an option. So I was really looking for a lightweight helmet with good airflow and also that had pretty good visibility because, in the Rampage comp, for example, you kind of get a narrow field of view. You don't have the full field of view that you would have in a half-shell helmet, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, or in the Otocon Race Mips. So that's what I was really looking for. Lightweight, good airflow, something I could climb with, and could get me as close to the half-shell experience as possible. So to fit the bill, there were a few helmets out there that I was interested in. One being the Trigger FF, lightweight full-face helmet by Trigger. Troy Lee makes the Stage. Smith makes a very light one. I think it's called the Mainline. And what's the other one? Oh, the Fox Proframe RS, another very popular one. And well, being here in Whistler, I went out and tried all of them on, found them all at a couple different shops. Actually, most of them all at one shop. And well, one shop, the shop that I bought the Otocon Race Mips from, had that helmet as well. So I tried all 5 of those helmets on. And one thing really stood out about the Otocon Race Mips is that it felt like a true full face. Like, it just felt beefier. It felt like it had more substance. Whereas some of the other helmets just kind of felt light and flimsy. Like, there wasn't much to them. You almost picked them up and you're like, wow, I'm about to pay, what, $300 to $400 for this. This just doesn't really feel like anything. Whereas with the Otocon Race Mips, it had a substantially beefier build to it. And, it's not to say beefy as in it's extremely heavy. It's not extremely heavy at all, actually quite the opposite. But it just felt secure around your head. When you put your head in it, it felt snug and it felt like there wasn't a lot of movement and your ears felt like they were in a good place. To me, there was a noticeable difference in quality between the Otocon Race Mips and these 4 other helmets that are in the same class. But let's go back to the beefy part. The Otocon Race Mips is slightly heavier than all of them. But that said, when you're just holding them in your hand, it is very, very hard to tell the difference. Maybe there's 50 or 100 grams between the Otocon Race Mips and, say, the average of those other 4 helmets. Not much weight difference that's very noticeable at all. So for myself, when I kind of picked them up and, felt them all in my hands and put them on my head, it was pretty clear that the Otocon Race Mips was worth it, or at least I felt like it was worth it relative to the other ones. Pick up a few grams, but you get an actual helmet that feels quite a bit better. Now, I felt like it went onto my head pretty smooth, whereas some of the other ones, and I can't be specific because I don't remember which ones they were, you know, some of the other ones, my ears felt kind of crinkled up and whatnot inside of the helmet. So after trying them all on, feeling the comfort, feeling the fit, and feeling the weight, I went with the Octon Race Mips. Now, let me show you a few kind of features of the helmet here. First thing, and I really like this, is the adjustable dial at the back of the helmet, so you can really tighten the helmet up and get it nice and snug on your head. And then the cheek pads in here are removable. I'm not going to pop them out while I've got the phone in my hand, but it does come with 2 sets of cheek pads, one kind of thinner and one thicker. And, you know, I'm really not sure which ones I've got in here at the moment. I haven't paid any attention to them since the day that I got the helmet. But you can remove them, you can wash them, you can swap them out. You could actually remove them while you're riding, right? For a climbing stage of an enduro, remove these and get further airflow. And then finally, it does have some type of little emergency contact detail storage in the helmet. I haven't looked too much into that, and I really don't plan on using that. I like to joke that I work in the digital world, so I play in the analog world. So on my bikes, I'm really not a big fan of kind of technology stuff. That might be good to have if you're riding alone somewhere and getting kind of crazy alone. It might be very good to have that. But personally, I think I could just store that in my pocket and, you know, if necessary, if it got that bad, first responders would find it. So let's get this helmet out on the trail.
Just a quick little A-line.
I've gotten a solid 3 weeks of use now out of the helmet, and I have to say, it is delivered on everything that I've gotten it for. I have absolutely no regrets. It is quite lightweight, the ventilation is pretty good, the fit is good, it's snug. Yeah, it just all around feels like what I was looking for out of a helmet, and I have to say, I wouldn't expect any more out of any of the competing helmets. And yeah, it's a little bit more in weight than the helmets, but overall, I really don't notice at all. I raced to the Enduro event here at Crankworx in Whistler with it, which had 3 good-sized climbs and then 1 small kind of little climb. Overall, that day probably climbed, say, 2,500 feet. And at no point, that was the only day that I had worn it climbing, by the way, at no point did I want to take it off at all. You know, there was no time when I really wanted to take it off. I was totally comfortable with it on my head. I would not wear it for cross-country riding at all. I'd certainly go for the half shell in that case. But yeah, climbing, I was totally fine with it in that case. The peripheral viewing and kind of field of view on it, very good. I have no complaints. It feels a lot better than the Fox Rampage helmet that I've used in the bike park. Overall, it, you know, feels less like I'm wearing a piece of cheese, you know, a big cheese box kind of thing on my head. That's what I feel like with the Rampage helmet. I don't feel that at all with the Octon Race Mips. So I'm very happy with my decision to get it. And on that note, if you're gonna get this helmet, let me know in the comments below, or if you've got it and you feel like there's anything I've missed out on, let me know in the comments below as well. And of course, if you found the video helpful and insightful, you know the drill, smash that like button because it helps me out in the YouTube algorithm.
All right, let's roll into some freight train tonight. Oh yeah.